Hey guys, just a quick video. There's been a lot of talk on Facebook about these lab lift devices. I got this one from AliExpress for about $26, including postage. And they basically have some failings. The problem is the way they're meant to do. They're designed basically that for you to raise it or lower it, then place a weight on what are you going to put on top of it, and in do so the thread basically locks. So to give you an idea, I don't know if you've ever got a threaded rod, piece of threaded rod, and taken two nuts and basically done the two nuts up against each other and tightly, they lock, and that's what a nut's supposed to do. So if you look at it on a picture, you've got a nut there, a nut there, which is basically what we've got in this device here. We've got a nut in there and a nut in there, and between those two things, a threaded rod. And so any kind of pressure on the scissor action pushes the nuts against the thread in the same way as you would tightening it up on a regular thread. It doesn't matter whether it's force going outwards or force going inwards, it's the same thing, it locks in. What you really want is something like in a vise, where instead of the thread going all the way through, it stops, and then you just have a bar going through the sleeve. There's something like a washer on this end and a pin to prevent it. So this part sits fairly loose and this part moves back and forwards on the thread. I've got this working fairly well. They actually come off a very small thread, and it's very hard to turn. So a small knob and it's hard to turn. So I actually made something else up. That's actually from stole from the kitchen, a cutting board. You know, the cutting boards, and I actually have a few of those. I kind of collect them. Comes in handy to make things out of it. So what I'll do is I'll set this up on my router, and I'll show you how it goes. Okay, we're back over my router table. I'm sorry about the lighting. I don't have a studio, so this is why the lighting is really crappy like it. Okay, so this is my router table. Pulls out. So basically I've got it set up. So I've taken off the springs. I don't think you can use this successfully without taking off the springs on your router. Even if you're just going to physically push the thing up and lock it in place, and then use it to lower it. Any kind of pressure, either was upwards or downwards on the threads in there, basically locks it, and so it makes it hard. So yeah, taking the springs out, it seems to work, and so you can lift it up, and it lifts up quite comfortably without springs. No real pressure on the thread, so it's not going to kind of wear out. Goes all the way up and coming down again, so also coming back down, it works quite well. I've tried using it without locking the router in place, so this doesn't seem to move very much, so it seems to be quite fine. But you know, I'd have a tendency, if you're going to do a lot of work, you know, you can just get under there and lock the router in place, and then when you finish, unlock it and then drop it down. A couple of things to be aware of. When this thing's at its lowest position, so when it's kind of totally kind of flattened and closed, it requires a lot of pressure to get the scissors to start actuating. So I'd have a tendency to have it so it's up a little bit. I've made a block under here just to maintain airflow around the router. But other than that, it seems to work quite well. You know, for $26, beats paying $500 for a fancy one that some of the guys do, but I'm really quite happy with this. It does what I want it to do. It goes up and down, and it's fairly accurate. So yeah, just a couple of pitfalls, as I said. You can't really use the springs. I've got spare routers, so I've got other routers that I use for top down work. So this is going to sit here fairly permanently. The next thing I've got to do is make a better fence on this thing, but the air vents and everything else is working quite fine. Put some extra lighting above there. So if you've got any questions, feel free to ask, kind of thing. But I found it's pretty good for what it is. and I just can't expect too much from it. Okay, thanks a lot.